For centuries, science and religion have at least appeared to be on opposite sides of the fence. Not all scientists, however, believed the two concepts were mutually exclusive. Is it possible that modern scientists, using today's most sophisticated tools, have finally bridged the gap between science and religion? Could it be that hidden within the text formed by these ancient Hebrew letters is information that only God could have put there? Have these three men, Eliyahu Rips, Doran Whitsom, and Yoav Rosenberg, breached the barrier between science and religion? Is there a Bible code of such stunning accuracy that modern events like the bombing of the Federal Building in Oklahoma City, the razor-thin margin of victory for George W. Bush in the presidential election, and even the destruction of the World Trade Center in New York were all foretold thousands of years ago? Do we now have a scientific method of literally reading what the future will be?
Every major event in world history, every major figure in world history appears to be encoded in the Bible.
Are we witnessing science actually proving ancient religious tradition? Some amazing new discoveries when we return.
A mystery that cannot be explained. An enigma that defies reason. A surprising and unexpected answer. To encounter such a mystery firsthand may change your life forever. Face to face with the greatest riddles of the ages. The world's most profound mysteries reach out and touch your life in ways you've never imagined possible. Encounters with the unexplained.
We've come a long way since 1450 and Gutenberg's first movable type printing press. Today, any passage can be accessed at the push of a button. In just a matter of minutes, everything in the Bible relating to a particular subject can be accessed, collated, and printed out. But for all of our sophistication and technological skill, we haven't been able to improve on the words. What they say and what they represent remains paramount to those who believe in the Bible. The thing that has recently captivated biblical scholars and scientists alike, however, is the notion that there might be something more here than just the words that are on the surface. There appears to be scientific evidence that embedded within the Hebrew letters of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, there is a code that tells of events far into the future. As you might suspect, this idea has generated a great deal of controversy, but then the Bible itself has been a source of controversy ever since its first printing in the 15th century. But all other arguments aside, one fact is indisputable. Since Gutenberg printed the first Bible, it has become the most pervasive book in the world. Every year, more copies of the Bible are printed than any other book ever published by far. What is there in this book that makes it so interesting? Are we simply fascinated by the history of a small group of people in a dusty corner of the world? Or is it the content, a philosophy for living? Can it be, as some historians suggest, that it is the very foundation of all Western law and culture? The Old Testament, specifically the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Bible, is, according to its adherents, a history of the Supreme Being's interaction with mankind, specifically the children of Israel. Yet it is filled with fantastic stories that many scholars insist cannot be true. That being the case, what are we to make of these new scientific studies that suggest there is more, much more, to the Bible? Today, the question being asked in ever-widening circles is simply, is there, in fact, a Bible code? More importantly, perhaps, does this code contain information about Hitler and the Holocaust? About the reestablishment of Israel, the 6 Days War? Did it actually anticipate the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin? And can it tell us what happiness or horror the future holds? But how could anything like a Bible code come about? According to the Bible, a man called Moses was told by God himself to come up on Mount Sinai, where he would be given tables of stone and a law and commandments, quote, which I have written. And according to the text, God came down to the top of the mountain amid thunder and lightning, fire and smoke, and spoke to Moses out of a great black cloud. It is an amazing story, if it happened. And if it happened, we still have to try and determine if Moses was responsible for this book, the Torah. And if he was, could the text still be the same today as it was when Moses brought it down from the mountain? After nearly 4,000 years of copying and translation, is that even remotely possible? In 1982, 3 men, all scientists, Eliyahu Rips, Doron Whitsom, and Yoav Rosenberg, decided to see if there was any scientific evidence that a code derived from counting specific numbers of letters in the text actually existed in the Bible. These were internationally renowned scientists, risking their reputation on an idea that seems very unscientific. Why? Could it be that after centuries of being on opposite sides, they were looking for ways to bring science and religion together in a single expression of truth? Whatever their reason, that study has sparked worldwide interest in the ancient text and the mystery of the Bible codes, which, by the way, is far from being a new idea.
There's an ancient tradition among Jews concerning the Torah. This tradition claims that unlike all other books of Scripture, the Torah alone was not merely inspired, it was dictated directly by God to Moses in a precise letter-by-letter sequence without punctuation or spaces between words.
Jews and Christians alike have long considered the words of the Bible to be divinely inspired. But this tradition suggests something more. It suggests that God literally wrote the Torah. But is there any evidence that the tradition has some basis in fact?
Well, we need to understand that in the ancient texts, there were no spaces between the words. Scholars call this form of writing scripta continua. In other words, it was just a stream of letters. You inferred where the spaces between the words occurred. Archaeologists have discovered 22-line inscription this way. This is a pretty well-established fact in archaeology. The spaces between the words as we're used to it apparently were introduced during the days of Ezra, much later, of course, than the days of Moses.
That means that while Moses was on Mount Sinai, and quite probably for some time after, he was busy writing down in precise sequence the entire 304,805 letters of the Torah. Interestingly, scholars have since found the Bible code present throughout the Old Testament. The question that jumps out at us is why? What could be the reason for requiring such a strict and difficult construction?
It is also part of the tradition that within the precise sequence of letters, there is encrypted information of a sort that only a divine hand could have placed there. However quaint and absurd that might seem, the tradition has a long and highly respected history. Nachmanides, one of the great Jewish sages, teaching in the 12th century, told his students that all of Israel's history could be found in Deuteronomy 32, commonly known as the Song of Moses. Another outstanding rabbi and teacher, who lived and died in the 13th century, Rabbi Bachya ben Asher of Saragossa, Spain, described a process whereby the skipping of equal intervals of letters in the Torah could lead to obtaining divinely ordained information. And in the 18th century, one of the greatest of the post-biblical sages, Elijah Solomon, known reverently as the Great One of Vilna, made the startling claim that all that was, is, and will be unto the end of time is included in the Torah.
And surprisingly, it is not only religious scholars who have searched the Torah for hidden messages. Some of the world's most notable scientists have searched for the coded information. Sir Isaac Newton served as provost of Cambridge University for many years and is generally regarded as the first modern scientist. He was also a firm believer in a Bible code.
Isaac Newton was certain there is a hidden code in the Bible. He desperately tried to find it. He learned Hebrew and spent more than half of his life searching for the Bible code. Most